we are at the end of Godzilla month and the last Godzilla movie currently made, Godzilla Final Wars. Let me say, when this movie came out, the whole world got hyped for this movie. I mean, the US premiere was held in LA, a first for a Japanese Godzilla movie. Godzilla got his star at the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Hell, I was even there to get pictures of it. And I even got my picture taken with Mechagodzilla. So as you can tell, people were excited for this movie around the world. In the US, we had to wait until 2005 to see this movie. I first saw this movie at the Egyptian Theater on Hollywood Boulevard. They were having a Toho Monster Marathon there that spanned across a few days, and the very last thing they showed was Godzilla Final Wars. Hell, even before some of the movies they showed there, they showed a trailer for Godzilla Final Wars. So I saw the movie, and like Godzilla 2000, I fell in love with it. But like Godzilla 2000, because I'm a film critic now, do I still love it? Well, let's see what the movie's about. The movie opens up with Godzilla fighting the underwater battleship from Atragon, which in this movie is called Gotengo. With a huge amount of luck, like an act of god luck, they managed to defeat Godzilla by burying him under ice in the South Pole, because that's where the battle took place. Then we get a narration that says that nuclear testings have awakened giant monsters, so the Earth has come together to create the Earth Defense Force. Along the way, they discovered mutants, humans with supernatural abilities. Gee, I wonder where he got that from. That they recruit as soldiers to help fight the giant monsters or any Earth invaders. Cut to the near future, when a bunch of monsters start attacking cities. I can name them right off the bat. Rodan attacks New York City, Anguirus attacks Shanghai, King Caesar attacks Okinawa, ironic, Kamakus attacks Paris, Kumanga takes out one trailer in the middle of nowhere in Arizona, Ebirah attacks a power plant in Tokyo. My favorite is that the American Godzilla, by this time renamed Zilla, attacks Sydney, Australia, and manages to do more destruction than he did in the Godzilla remake. So the Earth Defense Force scatters all over the world to destroy these monsters. But out of the blue, the monsters vanish, or like taken away by aliens who come in and say, hey, we want to make peace. We want to expand the United Union into the Space Union and be peaceful everywhere. But a couple of Earth Defense Force people slowly are under the impression that there's something more to this plot. So eventually their secret identity is revealed, and they say, okay, yeah, we're tricking you so we can take over the world. You are going to become extinct, you're going to be our slaves, whatever the case. We're releasing all the monsters back, including our monster, Gigan. And you're going to be fucked. So basically the entire Earth Defense Force is destroyed, along with the world. And the only thing left is the Gotengo, so they come up with a long shot of a plan to reawaken Godzilla after hibernation, so he can destroy all the monsters, and they can destroy the aliens. So, from my eyes as a fan, this is like every Toho fan's wet dream. It's got the most amount of monsters from any Godzilla movie. It's got a ton of references to other Toho science fiction films. And it's a pretty badass way to end the series, at least till next year. From an actual film critic's perspective, this movie is a complete mess. So I'm basically giving 2 reviews. As a film critic, this movie rips off a lot of other science fiction stuff. I know I meant showing this X-Men comic as somewhat of a joke when talking about the mutants, but there's even a line in the movie when the aliens, who, by the way, are the same breed of aliens from Invasion of the Astro Monster, Exaliens, they come across some soldiers, and one of the soldiers says, hey, watch it, X-Man. And it's like, oh, God. Another thing this movie rips off is, it rips off The Matrix several times. Now, I'm going to be that guy to say, I've never seen The Matrix, but I know a Matrix reference when I see it. There's a pointless motorcycle chase between 2 guys, and when they shoot bullets at each other, they go bullet time, like in The Matrix. Another part is when our main character is getting shot at by a bunch of Exalians' laser guns. And he basically does this like Neo and stops the bullets. So yeah, it's like, no duh, they are ripping this off. The most blatant ripoff is there's a scene that basically rips off the Death Star run in Return of the Jedi, where the Rebel Alliance has to fly into the core of the Death Star. They do the same thing for the alien mothership. This movie has a lot of unnecessary action. I mean, the action's cool, especially the monster action, but there's a lot of it that just doesn't need to be said. I mean, the sea serpent Manda is in this movie. He doesn't even fight Godzilla, and he is in the movie before... He's in the movie and is killed before the Exalians even arrive to Earth. The only reason he's there is to replicate his fight with the Gotengo from Atragon. There's also a really unnecessary training sequence between two of the main characters, and that motorcycle chase that I told you about is completely unnecessary, but the only good thing that could come out of those unnecessary fight scenes is that the music that accompanies those fight scenes provide really great club numbers. The music in this movie is so different from past Godzilla movies. It's a mixture of rock, electronic, and a bunch of other stuff that might not be appropriate for a Godzilla movie, but it makes for great dance music and great club music. Other than that, the story's a bit hard to follow. Some stuff doesn't make sense, like what continuity does this movie take place in? So there's a lot of references to other Toho movies. I mean, we assume it has to follow the original Godzilla, like the past few Godzilla movies have. But, I mean, there's some stuff that pops up in and out that you forget, like the Mothra fairies pop up at the beginning of the movie, and then for a long time they just seem to disappear, and then once Godzilla finally starts to get to the final monster, Monster X, Mothra pops up to help Godzilla, who is fighting not only Monster X, but Gigan also. So it's like, oh yeah, I forgot Mothra was in this movie. So it's really seems to be a case of too much stuff happening in one movie, which ultimately brought me to the conclusion that a lot of fans wanted all the monsters to be in one movie at one point. This movie made me realize maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe every single Godzilla monster created in one movie is just too much to handle. Maybe it's something only left in our imaginations and video games. So, I mean, it's really a sad realization that a movie like that can never be made. But it's always something we can imagine. So, I mean, as a film critic, this is not a good movie, so don't waste your time or money on it. However, if you are a Godzilla fan or a fan of dumb action movies, this has enough to keep you going. The monster fights are really entertaining, even though we could have used more focus on the monster fights than human fights. It's great to see a bunch of monsters back on the screen in a long time, like Anguirus, Gigan. Even if some of the monsters are obscure, like Kamacuras, Kumanga, and Ibera, it's still good to see classic Godzilla monsters back. Monster X is pretty cool, and its transformation is cool, which got spoiled by the... Okay, I'll just say this movie, the big reveal for this movie got spoiled by a fucking toy that I actually got for Christmas before I even saw this movie. Basically, Monster X transforms into a different version of Ghidorah, which is actually kind of cool since it would be the 50th anniversary of Godzilla, so let's make his last opponent Ghidorah. It may not be King Ghidorah, but it is a form of Ghidorah. As a Godzilla and science fiction, okay, you know what, as a science fiction fan, the Matrix and Return of the Jedi ripoffs are just so irritating, but as a Godzilla and Toho fan, this movie's pretty good. My favorite part is the final fuck you that Toho gives to TriStar on the American Godzilla, because Zilla is in this movie, and he fights Godzilla in Sydney, Australia, and the fight lasts for 30 seconds. Normally that would be irritating, especially since I fucking hated that minute and 30-second fight scene in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. The reason I don't have a problem with Godzilla kicking Zilla's ass in 30 seconds is because you could look at it as a joke. Like the final punchline to Toho mocking the American Godzilla. and showing, hey, our Godzilla is invincible practically. Look how weak your piece of shit monster is. In all honesty, I do like Zilla when it's called Zilla, not as Godzilla, because as its own monster, I like it. So, as a Godzilla fan, I would say it's good, but not great. There's a lot of stuff that could have been cut down. It's the longest of the Godzilla movies, and it feels a bit long. So, that is my review for every Godzilla movie made. I can't believe I actually did it in 28 days. 28 Godzilla movies. So, wow. My final words are thanks for watching. I hope you were entertained. I have no idea what the next movie I'll review. I have not seen any new movies recently. I hope the next movie I could see is Oz, the Great and Powerful. But if that's not the case, then hopefully I'll watch something out of the mist as a surprise this year. But if not, then definitely my first new movie review from 2013 will be Iron Man 3. So, thank you guys for watching Godzilla Month. I cannot wait for the American reboot, hoping it'll be good. And with that said, I don't know when I'll be back for a movie review, but I will see you guys later. Bye.